We're back. That's right, baby. SML Total Access. I'm Primetime 000. And with me is, that's right, Dan and Tiny. The trio's back. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? I'm glad to be back this weekend.
Glad to be here. NYT's a turd ball.
There you
I
go.
agree.
There you go, guys. The trio is back. Hey, guys, let's not waste too much time here. We talked about him last week, but I think it deserves some more talk, and that's RD. Been a little wishy washy lately. What do you guys think about RD's return to the SML now that he's got some more games under his belt?
All right, so um, I've always thought RD was one of the top tier players in SML. Um, of course, you've got the three or four guys that played with him years ago in leagues, and act like he was just the next coming of Jesus in Madden.
Yeah.
But he's struggling right now. I feel like, man. But I mean, you also got to look at it and be like, and understand that that team's not built nowhere near the way he likes it. He likes to run the ball down the rock and then hit those corner routes that he hit with Tua last Madden. But I do remember being in his division last cycle. He would keep the opponent in the game sometimes with some questionable decisions. So I feel like that hurts you more this Madden when you do that. You got to be more like, for example, Dan. You got to be super conservative for the most part in this game. Can't just be out there slinging it for 350, 400 yards. Um, but I think RD's a good enough Madden player that he's going to adjust, and I would say by next season he's going to be back to where maybe not a top three player, but he'll be at least a playoff player and back to where he's actually in contention, close for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be buying low on RD right now. I know he doesn't look like the RD of old, but I'm still buying in on him. His problem is really the schedule. I think the AFC North, NFC South guys are all playing some really tough games week in and week out, not really getting much of a break. So RD jumping right back in and then getting some tough matchups doesn't give him a chance to get settled in. I think that Steeler team is actually going to fit him very well long haul. I think he's going to like that. But he is just playing against some good teams, and these guys are starting to figure the game out a little bit more. They're starting to understand what their teams can do and not do, take advantage of certain routes and different stuff. And now the real counters start to come into it, and he's just behind the ball right now. So again, I think this season's a wash. I don't see him making any noise this season, but he'll be fine. I'm buying low on RD.
Yeah, his like you said, Dan, his schedule's tough. He had Muse, QP, Dump, Future, and Woods all to start. And his next few games, he's got Bomber, Doink Face, QP again, KJ, and then Fazz. So it doesn't get much easier for him. I think he's going to miss the playoffs this year. I think that when Mike called him the greatest Madden player across CFM, maybe a bit of a stretch, but I think he's a fine player. I think he'll get it figured out. He does have Russell Wilson. He does have Najee Harris. He's got some offensive pieces to be in these games, but he's just kind of struggling right now. I think he'll adjust though. But again, maybe a bit of a stretch from what I've seen. I haven't seen it in the SML yet. I mean, he's got one Simbardi, but for the hype coming in, a little bit of a disappointment overall, but I think you'll get it figured out this cycle.
Yeah, and to counter that too as well, Prime, I agree with you on the fact that he ran acres last year, and now he's coming in and we haven't seen much yet. So we've seen guys with one good cycle run off of certain abilities or players and do
Yeah.
really well. And so I think there is a big question mark out there on that claim, and maybe Mike did him a disservice, but that claim of being one of the top tier guys, he does have something to prove a little bit this cycle.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I'll hop in there and say I do again. I had to play him so much last cycle. Tank was a big deal. I mean, it was very hard to get Akers down, man. It was very frustrating to play against him. I'll just say it because I played him, or I think 10 or 12 times last cycle. So um, that made that was very. Whenever you're trying to play your game against him and you're doing good, and then all of a sudden Akers breaks an 80-yard run because he breaks 9 tackles, super frustrating. And that was a couple of reasons why a lot of guys lost their games against him, and he's obviously not got that at the moment. So I think that's hurting him. Also, I would say, I don't know if he even played this Madden before he hopped back in. So that is one thing to think about as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
give him a
he
break for a bit, maybe.
probably had some time off, personal things.
Yeah,
Obviously, he was in the SML, took some time off, joined back in Primer, played a little bit of Primer, and then now he's back in the league. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Moving on now to second down. Hey, another guy that's kind of been electric lately is Fazz, and we've talked hard on him. Dan's been hard on him. I've been hard on him. Guys, what's going on with Fazz? Is he back?
Yeah, so as hard as we want to be on someone, you got to give someone the credit when they deserve it. It's only fair to do that. So, Faz, if you're not sitting down or if you're driving a car, make sure you pull over because you're playing well. Yeah, I said it. That's right. You're playing well. You're doing well. He's figuring out some things. He's understanding evasive a little bit better. He's kind of taking what's there, and then he's taking advantage when guys are are pressing a little bit on defense and hitting over the top. So he's got some impressive wins the last few weeks. My biggest concern about Faz is going to come playoff time, though. Every playoff cycle, every playoff season, he has one of those games where you just look at it and say, "What is he doing?" Yeah, I still remember that Rowan game he should have lost. I remember Doink Face he should have lost. He should have lost the future last season. So Faz is right back where many people thought he'd be. It's probably the most explosive player right now. But as good as he's running right now, I guess I'm going to be. Well, we got to kind of wait to see because can he make a playoff run without that one hiccup game that sometimes bites him in the butt? So, but good job, Faz. We're all proud of you.
yeah. I'm super proud of Faz. I also want to take a little bit of credit because he's 5-0 since I beat him. So I need a little bit of credit there, Dan. If you
Well, yeah,
can.
because everyone, it's either jump off a cliff or prove that was a fluke game. Those are your two options when you lose to you, Tiny.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. No, but I went and thing I want to notice because I noticed it whenever I played him, and he'll admit this to everybody. He doesn't like running the ball. It's not fun for him. But I went and looked at his stats. At this point in the season, he's now third in the league in average in rushing yards. So like that's saying a lot. I know he's got CMC, so it's not like he's having to do it with a crappy running back, but just if he runs the ball, I think he's going to be fine. And I mean, I'll say this for myself and everybody else. And like Dan is a prime example. If you just play ball control offense, which I know Faz doesn't do, but if you're running the ball, you're going to have some sort of ball control offense. And he's third in the league in rushing right now. I think that's going to, if he can stick with that, that's going to make a big difference for him. Now, like Dan said, we're just waiting for that moment. Is he going to be the new folding chair guy? Is that what I mean? I know he's won a Simbardi, but is that what this is coming to? If he has another
Well,
push in the playoffs?
this cycle, he's had two OP teams. He's had some great teams here, and he can't get out of the conference. So
Yeah.
until he does, folding chair is probably not the right one because he has those Sambardis, but there's a little bit of a blemish there on those records.
Yeah, for sure. But Faz is one of my favorite guys, man, and he's a very good Madden player. I don't know what happened beginning of this season. Maybe he wasn't focused, but I know he's one of the guys that if he focuses and takes time in, he knows the game well enough that he can be a top 2, top 3, top 5 player at any point with any team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Faz. He started off really slow, and I'm buying on Faz. I think that a win over Bomber and really what was a must-win game, I think. Then two advances later, he beats Dan. Then after that, he beats QP, and now up next, he's got Demise, then Dump, then Future, and then RD, and then Doink Face, and then Monty, and then Doink Face, and then Dan again. I mean, that schedule is freaking insane.
Yeah.
But he's playing well right now, and I'm not going to count him out. So I'm buying on Faz. I don't really have anything negative to say. I mean, there's some talks of his shortcomings, and I think, as a fan of Faz and with how I see how he plays the game, I think more than anything, he's more of a disappointment. He's kind of like the 2000s Peyton Manning era Colts, where it's like, okay, like this guy he's primed to freaking have a crazy dynasty. And then for some reason, it just never quite worked out. I think he's definitely got the potential, and I think he's playing like a top 3 player now this season. I think he's going to make the playoffs. But that schedule is tough. That is a really tough schedule. And if those guys can get together and keep Fazz out of the playoffs, boy, will the NFC be interesting. All right.
I think that's a good analogy is the Peyton Manning thing, because like you just go through the regular season with all these crazy stats, looking fantastic passing game, and then ends up just kind of laying an egg at some point, randomly out of nowhere. You're like, where did that even come from? What happened, man?
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to third down. And wait, what a minute. What's going on here? We're getting intercepted. Oh, I think that's SML Anonymous, and he might be back.
Okay. First up, I want to talk about Double being no good. The clear ringleader of the primer pussies. After Spades was outed as a cheat, Doink proved to be the most anti-clutch member in the SML, and Monty is a big, dumb animal. You had a chance to win one against Prime, and what did you do? You went out and looked like you were playing with your feet, which if you weren't, might be something to look into, because it has to be an improvement. The Primer pussies haven't taken a blow like that since Doink choked against Noel. Next, Mike. You went from one game away from the playoffs to dumping your QB and losing to Colt and Two-Step in consecutive weeks. 500 Mike is a pipe dream. You wish you could be a 500 team. A look through the record book shows you aren't even 400 Mike. And moving your QB in the middle of the season where you could win a division is exactly why. I'm starting to think maybe you just love losing.
All right, guys. Well, there you go. That was SML Anon giving his takes on the Primer posse as well as Mike, I believe. Guys, what's your thoughts on SML Anon's return?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious who it is. But he did make some good points. Mike, what's happened to Mike? That's throwing me off. He went all in on Von Miller, which whenever I say anything about it, he's like, "Well, Tiny, it was a 2-year deal," and I'm like, "Well, still spent like what $30 million on him for this season, 25 million, something like that." So that's a lot of money for a big playmaker that you're not. What are you going to do? What are you going to win 4 games this season or something? It's like, don't know if it was worth it, buddy. And Rice, which as you guys heard, sounds like they were mainly worried about the Primer posse. I won't use the word they used. But I don't know why he had to bring Monty in there. Monty is super impressive this season. He's doing really good, playing fantastic offense, needs to work on his defense a little bit. But I don't know why he had to throw in Monty's name.
Yeah, I would, Prime, when I'm done here, I'd love to hear some of the history, because some of the guys that are new might not know the history behind what's going on here. But yeah, I would agree with Tiny. I think actually the way it's gone, the Primer posse, 2 of the 3 are actually playing pretty good ball right now. The one that's not, and he was on the showcase game of the week against Prime here, and no beans,
What happened?
no nothing, no shutout, 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. I mean, it was one of the worst games I've seen anyone play in a long time. So I think he deserves every single attack. I kind of feel bad for Doink Face and Monty to get kind of wrapped up with no beans. He's like that anchor that's just dragging those guys down. Maybe they need to cut him loose and just kind of form a duo instead of this 3-man posse that they got going on here.
Yeah, just to fill you guys in, for the new guys especially, a few years ago I was watching the NFL Network and they had the Player Rater, and the Player Rater was supposedly an NFL player that was going to give his takes on the NFL Top 100 or whatever they were doing at the time. And I was like, oh, we should do that with the SML. So I contacted NYT, and he was SML Anon on Twitter for the longest time, and it was big. But then he accidentally posted a screenshot showing his login as SML Anon, and everyone found out, and then he was kind of outed. But now I've got a new guy who I've contacted, and he's doing the voice changer, and it's a cool thing. that he's doing. Good for the league, I think. In my opinion, on the takes are Monty has done a great job of separating himself from the primer posse, I think. And I think that Mike he's a pretty smart guy, I think, but he's not the best team builder. I mean, anytime you go all in and sign a pass rusher like Tiny referenced and then trade your quarterback in the same season, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, kind of conflicting moves there. And this trade for Tua has been hit on the head a million times by like a bunch of different shows. So I don't want to talk about that too much, but yeah, big offseason coming up for Mike to try to get things figured out after last season beating some top tier players. So we'll see what Mike's got up his sleeve. I'm sure he's got a plan. Let's move on now to fourth down, and this one will be interesting for sure. Dan and NYT played a game last night that where NYT came back on Dan and beat them late in the fourth quarter. Dan, what's your thoughts on this game and what the frick happened?
Well, a lot of things happened. Obviously, I made some bad decisions, so you always got to start looking in the mirror first, and made some decisions uncharacteristic and allowed NYT to come back. I pretty much had the game wrapped up and threw a pick six, and then didn't finish it towards the end. So that's where I got started. Then right after that, Murray, might right now currently be the most OP player right now with the escape artist, gunslinger, and Deadeye, roaming Deadeye. And so as NYT gets used to that, or as he takes advantage of that, he's just going to be harder and harder to stop. So I really didn't feel like I had too many answers. And then, I'm going to save my opinion on my third thing for later. I'm not going to make sour grapes too much out about my third opinion, but we'll save that for a future show. So the reality though is man, you talk about schedules. I've had 9 games to start the season with teams that won 10 games or plus last year. I had NYT, I had QP, and should have won both of those and didn't finish the deal. But it also, I think, helps me to feel better about what I did last year because I still basically feel like I'm fighting against some super teams, some super players, trying to fight against some of the abilities, and you know what? I got to play perfect every game, and when you can see if I don't play perfect, if I make some mistakes, I'm easily beatable. So that's kind of what we're at. We got a lot to work on. Thankfully, my schedule gets a little bit easier, but I still got tough games. Traditionally, like Graham's and Tiny, those guys have always played me tough. They could games can go either way, even though the records look differently. So I've got to basically, I think, go 7-1 over the last 8 games. That'll probably get me in, but hey, been here before, and we're ready for the challenge.
Tiny?
I'm just glad out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 game or 8 games left, you decided to pick me and Grams out of this instead of Spooky and Future and Fazz there. But anyway, yeah, it's a good defense, and I'm curious what's going on. I mean, he's 32nd in yards allowed, which he does preach, no pun intended, that you can let up yards. Just you can't give up the touchdowns. You got to bend but don't break in this Madden. It seems like. Yeah, man, I was super upset he lost that game yesterday. I thought it was sealed. Of course, NYT's in my division, so I was like, all right, now I'm only a game or two back of NYT. Just feeling good about it, and Dan let it go. But he have a game last season where he threw, it was 4, 5, 6 picks, something like that, and then I don't know if he threw a pick the rest of the season. When the guy makes mistakes, he figures out what he's doing wrong, and figures it out and fixes it immediately. That's everybody knows that's what Dan does. He fixes his mistakes. He does what he does best and makes sure he doesn't do those mistakes again. So I'm not worried about Dan too much. He's 4-5 though. I mean, it makes you worry a little bit. I mean, you got 7 losses would have to be the most to make the wild card, I think. In the NFC, I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at it real close yet. Minus the division winners. But I can't see an SML playoffs without Dan and Bomber in it. That would seem weird.
Yeah, just to quote, I think Dan's going to make the playoffs. His schedule is too light,
definitely lightens up.
too light for him to miss. So a few things here to unpack. I think that NYT did get a few breaks late in that game. Obviously, you have the block field goal and But Kyler Murray made great throws, but that's just Kyler Murray. But NYT took advantage of those breaks, and sometimes we, when we watch these games and when we watch certain players and they get breaks, and you credit them for it, or I mean you discredit them for it, like, oh well, that fumble, this fumble happened, and then you got a touchdown. Well, wait a minute, like this guy still drove down in a minute and got a touchdown. Like that's impressive. And then Dan had a chance to drive down and score, and he threw an interception. So I think NYT got some breaks, but he made the most of his opportunities. I think I tip your cap to that. Now, for Dan, I'll say this. Last season with the Colts, I had Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor wasn't superstar, and when I would play against certain players like QP in the playoffs, I felt I needed to play perfect to beat him. I didn't, but I still hung around enough to be competitive. But I just couldn't get over that hump, and I felt some of it was due to my team, especially against better players with better teams. I I think for Dan to win a second Simbardi this cycle, which he hasn't done in the SML before, he's going to have to up his team building a little bit. You know, this offseason, he made a few moves, but he didn't make a big move. You know, he still doesn't have a superstar running back. His quarterback is good. I know Dan won with Teddy Bridgewater, but I think he needs somebody a little bit better. I don't think Dan needs Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he even needs I don't think he needs Lamar Jackson, but I think he needs somebody better. So just because when you play these big time players, sometimes you need that Kyler Murray type of play just once or twice, and Teddy's not going to give that to you. Teddy's going to make you play perfect, and nobody's perfect. So I think Dan's going to need to make some big moves to really be competitive in this NFC because the Panthers are only getting better. This team is built to get better.
Prime, can I borrow your ability to trade rape somebody? Because I need that help.
Yeah,
because I got no options. I got no one to build off of. I win too much, so my picks are too high, and I got no one to trade.
I was the Colts, and I was the same way. You got to find a way. It's a lame answer, but you just got to find a way.
I can't bring myself to trade rape figs every single season. That just feels wrong.
Well,
hey, do you have Bobby Okereke on your team?
I do. Hey,
I need him. I'll trade him to somebody.
So
no, I agree with you though, Prime. Part of it is I'm banking on getting those developments. I think I got about 8 guys right now that are sitting at star development that I just need that break, and I just haven't gotten it. So that's the hard part right now is I can't get my guys over that hump and okay, do I trade those star guys and go get someone else, or do I keep trying to hopefully somewhere I get a development and just my style of play, I don't spam guys enough to really get into the season ending stuff. So I'm kind of feel like I'm running around in a circle and I got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So I definitely need some help.
Yeah, I think, and just my opinion, I watched Mike with the Colts last pre-blip, and I was like, okay, Mike, like you're gonna have to trade some guys you don't necessarily want to trade, and
Yeah.
I think to be competitive, you might have to think about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I got 2 guys on my radar that young guys that are potentially superstars that I'm ready to all right, I just might have to move them just to bite the bullet. So I agree with you.
So guys, there you go. That's our piece on Dan and kind of what had happened last night. Moving on now, extra point. Tiny, take it away.
All right, man. It's been a long time since we've done the Tiny Five. I don't know if we done it last half cycle, did we? Before the blip? I don't think we did.
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. So at 5, but I have to put Prime in here. He's not been picked out yet. So
Yes.
The main reason is 33 points a game. So everybody that's heard the Tiny Five before, I like these the average points for and points against. That obviously tells all because we have another team that's if you look on Daddy Leagues, he's ranked 5 if you look at the league standings. But for the Seahawks, he's averaging 25 points a game, but points against is 29. I mean that's not a good sign. If you've played 7 games and you're averaging 29, if you're averaging 4 points against you more than what you're scoring, that's going to come out in the wash at the end of the season. That's why, I don't know, off topic, but that's why I'm feeling like he's going to come back down and NYT is going to take over the division. Anyways, so at 4, I got he's at 5-2, playing really well. I do worry about him making some bad decisions. I did get a DM before our game from a certain member in the league that he will make some bad decisions randomly, and he did randomly all of a sudden in that game when I did not expect it. Just throw a random pick to me. If I was any better of a Madden player, I probably could have took advantage of that and at least took the game to overtime or something. But you know me. At 3, I got Monty. I don't know if I've seen anybody halfway through the season average 40 points a game. I feel like that's a big feat. You gotta really have a potent offense to do that. I mean, there's only 3 other guys maybe that average 30 or more, and this guy's averaging 40 points. Again, like I mentioned earlier in, I think it was third down, he's got to work on his defense so that because obviously in the playoffs, that's when defense really matters. At 2, just for past games in previous seasons and playing QP, I'm in his division in Primer, and I've played him a lot in SML the past couple of seasons. I'll put QP at 2. This guy's just a very good Madden player. Doesn't make many mistakes. Very solid. Plays good defense. There's not many bad things you can say about him, except for every now and then he seems to have a clunker. I don't know what rhyme or reason it happens, but it seems like 1 out of maybe like 9 or 10 games he has that random clunker. Then at number 1, this guy's going to be like, oh shucks, can't believe he done that, but you're wrong. Mr. Matt, he's number 1 in the league, playing good defense.
Wow.
He's leading the AFC South. I mean, you can't say anything bad about him. The guy plays very conservative, not going to make mistakes. I played him last season, and it was just like one of those. It felt very Dan-like. You can't. He gets third down conversions. Just doing short little 8-yard passes, running the ball. And I think Matt's found his sweet spot with not spamming the running game, and he's figured out how to use Trevor. I'm kind of excited to see how Matt ends up the season after halfway through.
Wow, Tiny, you don't even have Fazz in your top 5.
It was him in Prime that I was mixing up between the 5th spot there.
And you don't even look at schedules or quality of wins. Monty, who's Monty beating? What's one good win Monty has?
Hey, if you're scoring 40 points a game, you got to average of 40 points a game halfway through the season. You're playing some good offense.
Well, if he's playing no beans, it's easy to score over 40.
Wow. Well, hey, I'll give my take. Give my take on things here. I like Matt at number 1. He's feeding Travis Etienne, and I think that fits him well. He's playing okay with Trevor Lawrence. 9 touchdowns, 5 picks, a very average numbers, but he's just playing his game, and that's what's important. I like myself in the top 5. Obviously, it feels good to be back in the top 5, and I kind of like the list actually. You know what? I like the list. Who cares what Dan thinks?
Do you think Matt at number 1 might be the quietest number 1 ever on a power ranking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like when you said Matt, he wasn't even on my. I'm like, all right, he's gonna go Fazz number 1. You don't even Fazz in top 5, then you go with Matt out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, you gotta respect Matt, man, and Tiny's just it's that total access brotherhood for sure.
Yeah. I feel like there's some kind of setup going on here. I better watch my back here. Something's happening. You guys are planning some coup into Tiny Access here.
You got to look at it. He's beat, this doesn't sound as impressive right now after Meat's last few weeks, but he's beat Meats, Paulie, Demise, Prime week 1. His other ones aren't so impressive. I mean, he beat Grams by 10. Looking at ZZ, he beat ZZ by 1, but like ZZ's played really, really well this season.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's winning games, man. I mean, he's playing, like Prime said, he's playing his game. And if the guy, from what I've noticed, even for myself, if you're playing the way you want to play, you're going to win more often than not.
So Matt has beat all the teams that haven't won a playoff game this new playoff, right? Because none of those guys won a playoff game.
Hey!
None of them won a playoff game.
I won one with Carson Wentz.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. Well, it was no beans though. Does that count?
Yeah. We'll talk about that another time. Hey guys, we're at 28 minutes. We don't want to babble on anymore. I don't think. We're not Eminem in the morning. That's for sure. Tiny, Dan, you guys got anything else to say?
I'm good.
No, I'm on the edge, and I play Tiny in a few weeks. He might just push me off the cliff. So watch out.
Yeah,
SML.
hey, he's done
I
it.
would be honored.
A Tennessee fan has done it before. I'll say that. Guys, this is SML Total Access. I'm Prime. That's Tiny. That's Dan. The trio is back. Stay tuned, boys. We got more content coming in the coming weeks. Get fired up for SML football, baby. Playoff push.